Tonight, a major boost to an Upper Spencer Gulf jetty to bolster hydrogen ambitions, and a push to reform local medicinal cannabis laws.
From our 7 Spencer Gulf studios, your nightly news with Ruby Kamain begins now.
Good evening. The Port Bonython jetty is set to receive a $37 million upgrade in next week's state budget, supporting South Australia's hydrogen ambitions. The announcement comes after the launch of a world-leading hydrogen project, aiming to be the largest green ammonia plant in the world.
It's a hydrogen facility set to be 60 times larger than the one currently installed at Tonsley in Adelaide. Premier Stephen Marshall says upgrading the Port Bonython jetty will unlock significant investment and export opportunities for South Australia, particularly across Asia.
Whyalla should be the premier location in this state for hydrogen production and the jobs that go with it.
The initial stage of the $240 million hydrogen project set to see the installation of a 75 megawatt electrolyser near Whyalla. It will be capable of producing enough hydrogen to create 40,000 tonnes of ammonia each year. The member for Giles says the perfect location for the facility would be the old titanium dioxide site just west of Port Bonython and north to the steelworks.
It's very close to major infrastructure such as the Coltana substation, highways, rail, so it's got a lot going for it.
In a statement, the Premier says H2U's hydrogen project at Port Bonython is exciting for South Australia, with the government helping to assist in establishing international connections with potential customers. Sophia Contagonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
A medicinal cannabis advocate is calling on the South Australian government to consider a drug driving reform bill. The changes would classify prescription cannabis in the same manner as other medicines when tested behind the wheel.
Breaking down the stigma, this passionate advocate is fighting for easier access to medicinal cannabis.
Back in 2016, Australia legalised medicinal cannabis, and yet here we are late in 2020 and still patient access pathways are so cumbersome and largely unaffordable.
She says residents that reach out for a legal prescription are still facing many barriers.
The challenge we have now is the likelihood of those people being caught up in roadside drug testing.
Now calling on the South Australian government to follow Victoria, who currently has a drug driving bill before Parliament.
People who use medicinal cannabis who aren't impaired are treated like any other road user that uses a prescription medicine. I think it's a really great way to go.
In a statement, the state government says these laws aren't something being considered, but this Moonta local says she'll be writing to both the Premier and Opposition Leader about the issue.
I think this is a really great opportunity for our Parliament to work collectively to create change for people who use medicinal cannabis.
It comes as the Hemp Expo is also set to be held at the end of November at Adelaide Showgrounds. 2
days of information stalls and people like me and other advocates for cannabis will be there speaking, and we're happy to take questions.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
An unlimited number of people can now visit family and friends at aged care facilities in South Australia. From midnight last night, the rule of 1 person or 2 visiting together has been lifted. Other safety measures will still apply, such as flu shots for visitors and strict hygiene practices. Still to come tonight, preparations underway for Remembrance services in Port Lincoln, and major Christmas events in Port Augusta canned. Welcome back. Port Lincoln's RSL is finalising preparations ahead of Remembrance Day next week. Crowds will be able to gather at the city's War Memorial to pay respect to veterans and current servicemen and women.
Lee Povey was just 20 years old when he was conscripted for the Vietnam War, serving 2 years as a medic. He was one of the lucky few who got to return home, but the horrors of battle have never left him.
I look back on old photos just the other day and probably had 7 blokes that were in my tent celebrating my 22nd birthday and knew he dad. And 5 of them are gone. So that's just the way it is.
Next week he'll be one of thousands who commemorate Remembrance Day.
I just ask people to respect the history of the war service people, and no one done it easy.
It really is an opportunity for the school kids to turn up and parents to take kids and to say, this is what happened all that time ago.
Services will be held across the region, with crowds being encouraged to attend. It's a far cry from Anzac Day, where veterans were told to stay home.
The only difference we would ask that we do respect the distance between people and not gather in tight groups of people.
It's been 102 years since the world signed for peace, ending the Great War. 11 million military personnel died, while 13 million civilians also lost their lives.
You have to have the history of that sort of stuff, and if the good people don't speak up, well, evil will come.
Port Lincoln's service is set to be held at 10:30 next Wednesday. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Port Augusta is the latest city to have its Christmas pageant and carols fall victim to the COVID-19 pandemic. Organisers now set to put on an alternative celebration, encouraging the community to keep up the festive spirit.
Calling on the community to light up and shine this festive season.
And so whether that's your letterbox or your whole house, it's entirely up to you as a community or a business to light up and let everyone know that hey, Port Augusta is again one of the City of Lights.
While Port Augusta's Christmas pageant will not be going ahead this year, City Council is putting on other festive celebrations for the community to enjoy.
Lighting up some trees in Gladstone Square, relocation of the Christmas tree from the top of the council building into the barracks.
In a statement, Rotary Port Augusta says while the pageant won't go ahead in its usual format this year, it is supporting the MFS Santa truck, which will be visiting parts of the city in the lead up to Christmas. Residents are still encouraged to do their part this Christmas season by dressing up and adorning their homes.
Lights are one of those things that you drive by, you walk by, you see, you marvel at, and it always brings joy to whether a young kid or to an elderly person as well. So yeah, light up and be a part of Port Augusta's Christmas lights.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Golf News.
But the countdown is still on to Christmas, with only 50 sleeps to go until the Jolly Man in Red comes to town. Preparations are well underway across the region, with the Cummins community gearing up for its annual Christmas Wonderland.
Tucked away in the heart of Eyre Peninsula, a group of Santa's helpers bringing some festive cheer to what's been a very tough year.
We felt that it was very important to bring people together for Christmas and continue with our event.
The Cummins Christmas Wonderland bringing the magic of the season alive, the event getting the green light to go ahead this year. To make sure the team doesn't get on the naughty list though, strict COVID measures will be in place to make sure everyone's safe.
We think that the COVID plan for us is very manageable, and we also thought that it would lift everybody's spirits.
The annual event has run for more than a decade and attracts close to 5,000 people from all across South Australia.
Big news for us is that we're moving from the RSL Hall over to the Institute, which is a much bigger venue.
The Jolly Man himself set to make a guest appearance, but you won't be able to sit on his knee, instead stand next to him.
We will make sure that everyone's safe with Santa, but he'll still be coming.
Doors open at the Wonderland on the 1st of December and will run till the end of the month. Nathan Regter, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. Regional authorities encourage one another to reach out for help. And a new youth art exhibition on display in Port Pirie. Hello again. Whyala's Suicide Prevention Network is encouraging locals working in emergency services to not be afraid to reach out for help. The team holding an event last night for first responders, trying to remove the stigma around mental health.
This room filled with firefighters, police officials and ambulance crew, all frontline figures in our community. But within their positions, sometimes comes the mindset of having to stay strong all the time.
For people who are first responders, the environment that they work in can be extremely challenging, and we may not necessarily truly understand exactly what that's like for them.
The event, funded by Country SA, a chance for these first responders to hear stories of those who have lived experience with mental health issues.
Considering the things that they're exposed to, it's so important to promote managing mental health and reaching out when people are really in need.
For Nathan Bolton, overcoming his own struggles with his mental health is the reason he aims to help others today.
I did 2 tours of Afghanistan with Australian Special Forces. I was a Special Operations Engineer. So my job in short was to find the bombs buried in the ground. And then after my second tour, my life sort of spiralled.
Now director of a psychology company, his mission is to remove the stigma around mental health, especially for men.
Us blokes haven't been as good as women at reaching out and talking, and that's something that I think we need to improve.
More information on the Bolton Brothers Company and Wyalla's Suicide Prevention Network can be found online. And if you or someone you know needs help, call Lifeline on 13 11 14. Sophia Contigonis, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Port Pirie's Tourism Centre is preparing for a new exhibition showcasing youth art from across the region. Locals under 25 are encouraged to submit their best pieces, with entries closing soon.
A hive of activity here at the Tourism Centre, an upcoming exhibition celebrating local artists.
It's really important for us to be able to showcase their work and encourage them to become involved in the art scene locally and across the state.
It's fabulous to see people coming in to look at the gallery, and it's really great to show local artists around the region. It's nice, I think, for people to come in and get that bit of connect through the artists as well and their view on the region.
Curators are now calling out for young locals eager to showcase their masterpieces from the Port Pirie area.
The exhibition is open to primary and secondary school students, but it's from ages 5 to 25, so you don't necessarily have to be in school to include artwork.
Students can also enter pieces they've worked hard on during the school year.
A really great end-of-year celebration for all the hard work that a lot of the students have put in to either SACE exams or school exams.
It's not the only exhibition soon to kick off.
Over the Christmas period, we have some really exciting exhibitions coming in from Museum and Galleries of Queensland. We've got a contemporary jewellery show called Use, and alongside of that we've got a great public program which will include some workshops.
Tourism Centre numbers also keeping busy, with festive spirits in full swing.
We've been really busy, particularly after the school holidays. Lots of people have been out and about travelling. It's been so good to see people coming from interstate. There's so much to see and do here in the region.
Shari Hams, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Port Augusta's Aridlands Botanic Garden plant sales area is currently closed for renovations. Works are underway to improve the site's irrigation system and water conservation ahead of the hot summer months. Renovations are expected to be completed next Wednesday, with residents invited back to check out the new area and full restock of plants. Stay with us after the break. Our fishing experts will join us with all the latest tips. And we'll have the weather details with Alex. Welcome back. Port Augusta has been named by locals as the best shallow water fishery in South Australia, possibly even the world. However, there are concerns there is not enough being done to sustain the fishery and one very popular species.
Kingfish, one of the greatest catches in the Upper Spencer Gulf. But this local sports fisherman says there needs to be more action to protect the species and sustain the fishery, said to be unique to South Australia.
The recapture rate's high, so it sort of indicates that the fish have been, the fish populations maybe not as high as possibly thought in the past.
He says we're sitting on a recreational gold mine that could enhance the city.
Here's a resource that really needs to be protected and being maintained, and you know, the government needs to have some influence on what is happening with this fishery.
Stuart MP Dan Van der Hulst Pelican backing the call to sustain the fishery.
I think it's something that we need to cultivate for our region. The entire Upper Spencer Gulf could become famous Australia-wide and potentially worldwide for this really special sport fishing opportunity.
But Primary Industries Minister David Basham says a survey shows there's no cause for concern.
The scientific evidence and the catch history from the professional fishers is not indicating a significant shift in this space.
But locals say there needs to be a management plan in place to ensure we don't fall into the same situation as the snapper fishery.
There's no sustainability plan, and all of those things need to be considered before for the future of the fishery, to ensure that we still have a fishery in the future.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Time now to see what's biting in Spencer Gulf waters. Here's our fishing experts with their tips.
Over this last week we've had some really funny weather where we've actually had some hot snaps and some cold snaps, so I'm not sure if the yellowfin whiting or King George whiting will be on this weekend. But if I had a tip to do anything over the weekend, I'll be heading to Woods Point. You should be able to find yourself some nice King George whiting. You'll probably see some salmon trout and some snook still in the area, and blue swimmer crabs in the Checker Buoy area. You should have no problems in catching a feed. Good luck and enjoy the weekend. We'll see you next week.
G'day and welcome to this week's fishing tips from Port Augusta, Jewel North. Well, tide's well and truly swapped over now. Big high tides in the morning. Get out there amongst those silver whiting down along the shacks, and on the low tides out on the Flinders Channel. Kingfish are still around, although on these choppy days they're a little bit harder to spot. In the calm days you can generally see the waves on top of the water. But up around the train bridge, off the Shoreline Caravan Park, and also down around the entrance to Port Patterson's been a few spotted, and also the old powerhouse site. Blue swimmer crabs starting to come on the bite. There's no real pattern with them at the moment, but they are starting to come on, and they're nice and big and full of meat as well. Salmon trout in around the creeks. That's all we got from the Jewel of the North.
Hi, whalers fishing report this week. Land-based across Whyalla, things certainly have heated up. Down towards the Point Lowly grounds, there's been some nice yellowtail kingfish being landed. Best down towards the Kingfish Harbour and anywhere along the rocky coastline there. Get some live baits. Live squid have been the takers. Also worthwhile trying some poppers and some lures as well. Also along the rocky coastline, with the southerly winds coming in and the good tides, there has been some nice big bronze whaler sharks being caught land-based, so definitely get amongst those. Out on the boat, the King George whiting have been going absolutely berserk the past couple of weeks. Definitely the best grounds have been down towards Mount Young and Cowlard's Landing. Just look for the broken bottom out in front of the shacks.
G'day and welcome to Fishing Tips in Port Lincoln. Well, there's still been quite a few squid around locally. So the local jetties, especially the town jetty, has been producing quite a few medium-sized squid, but early in the day and late in the day for best results. Over at Coffin Bay, there's still been some whiting reported from the Farm Beach grounds and also up along the sand hills. There's been a few garfish and also a few squid mixed in through that area too. There has been some nanagai reported out wide of Point Sir Isaacs and some good reports of salmon from Almonte and Gunya beaches. That's all for this week. We'll see you again with more tips next week.
Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather. Here's Alex.
Thanks, Ruby. Mainly fine conditions across the region. From 3 p.m. today, Port Augusta reached a high of 20, Cleve 16 and a top of 23 at Cooper Pedy. Woodna got to a high of 21, Port Pirie and Broken Hill both 20 degrees, Port Lincoln 17, Kadina a top of 16 and Whyalla and Adelaide both reached a top of 18 degrees. To the satellite now, and extensive cloud crossing southern parts of SA with cool onshore winds is delivering a few light showers, mainly about higher ground. Bright cloud over the west in the jet stream ahead of a trough is not producing any rain. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. South to southeasterly 15 to 20 knots, reaching 20 to 25 knots north of Cal and Woolloomooloo during the afternoon and evening. Seas to 1 to 2 metres, swells south to southwesterly 1 to 1.5 metres. To tomorrow's temps now, mainly fine conditions. Port Lincoln and Cleve both set to reach a high of 17 degrees. Woodna mostly sunny and a max of 23. Whyalla 19. Port Augusta sunny and a top of 22. Kadina partly cloudy and a max of 20 degrees. Port Pirie sunny and 21. Clare 17 degrees and Broken Hill reached a high of 23. Taking a look further through the week now, and those fine conditions will continue through to Saturday. Cooper Pedy very sunny with the region's high of 29. Woodna and Port Augusta both set to get to a high of 25. Whyalla and Broken Hill 22. Kadina 23. Port Pirie 24. Port Lincoln 19, Adelaide 21. Warming up even further on Sunday with sunny conditions across most of the region. Kadina, Whyalla and Broken Hill all set to reach a high of 27 degrees. Port Pirie 29, Cooper Pedy and Port Augusta a hot 31 degrees. Woodna with the region's top of 32. Port Lincoln 23, Adelaide set to reach a high of 25. Most areas set to be in the 30s on Monday, except for in Port Lincoln, which will be a mainly fine 28 degrees. Cooper Pedy 38, Port Augusta mainly fine 36, Woodna similar conditions 35, Whyalla 33, Port Pirie a degree warmer, 34. Broken Hill 32. Kadina also 32. Adelaide mainly fine and a top of 31 degrees. So it's certainly set to be a hot one, Ruby, towards the end of the weekend and early next week. That's all the weather from me tonight. Back to you.
Lovely, thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Thursday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.